Namaskar. Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a video and a podcast show that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. We are now in the season three of our show and have over 1,000 recordings for you, which you can see at www.tbcy.in. Today, it's my pleasure and privilege to welcome Ms. Neha Bagaria, the founder and CEO of Jobsforher, India's largest platform to accelerate women's careers. Jobsforher has worked with over 2 million women, 7,500 plus companies, 1,000 plus mentors, and 500 plus reskilling partners across India to enable women to start, restart, and rise in their careers. Neha founded Jobsforher in March 2015 after taking a 4-year break in her own career when she had her children. Prior to her career break, she worked at Kemwell, a biopharmaceutical manufacturing company based in Bangalore, where she was involved in the fields of HR, finance, and marketing strategy for their facilities in India, Sweden, and the US. Before she moved to Bangalore, Neha was the founder and the CEO of Paragon, an educational startup based in Mumbai to bring the advanced placement program to India. Neha graduated from the Wharton School of University of Pennsylvania with honors in finance, marketing, and management of information systems. Neha has been listed in the Forbes India's Women-Powered Trailblazers list of 25 groundbreaking women achievers as a game changer and innovator who's shattering stereotypes, and was also featured by Deccan Herald as 19 change makers to watch out for in 2019. She was also featured as the 10 most impactful women in the Tech 2020 by Analytics Insight. Neha is an avid traveler and enjoys adventure sports like skiing, scuba diving, and hiking. She's also a closet artist and dancer. The list of Neha's accomplishments are long. I can just go on and on, but I'm going to stop here and welcome Neha to the show. Neha, welcome to the platform of Jobsforher.
Thank you so much, Shesh. And that was indeed a very warm welcome. So thank you for that.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. So I'm sure, Neha, you've been asked this many times before. And we're going to start from where it all started. Jobsforher. Now, it's a very fascinating name, very interesting name. But I have a question which is arising out of curiosity. Why did you just single out Jobsforher? Why was it not Jobs for All?
Of course, Shesh, and the answer to both your questions lie together. The reason why I started Jobsforher was because, when I took a break in my own career, like you mentioned, when I had my children and I took a break for 3.5 years, when I decided to get back to work, I looked around me and I realized that all my friends and cousins and family friends, all of whom were women, had all stopped working mainly because of personal reasons. And when I started doing research on the topic, I was shocked to realize that the women participation rate in India is only 20%, a number that is similar to, by the way, Afghanistan and Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
Compared to China, which is at 60%, and the USA, which is at 55%. Versus the male participation rate in India is 80%. So your gender gap that exists in India is just from that gap right there. And that's the reason why I realized that we have to figure out a way to accelerate women's careers in India. And thus started Jobsforher. And it had to be Jobsforher because unless and until we can get that parity of women in the workplace, we need to have unique solutions to this unique problem.
Wow. No, I think Neha, you bring up a very interesting point here. You made a reference to China. Every time I've traveled around Far East, be it China, be it Cambodia, Vietnam, Taiwan, and all the Hong Kong or even Singapore, you see a lot of women in the workforce of an organization. In fact, in some countries we have all women organization. But tell me, it is also proven by the stats that women bring enormous level of stability and improve the productivity at the workplace. Then, if that is so apparent, why is it that we here in India have this struggle to get more and more people back in the job, or more and more women back in the job?
Yeah, Ashish, I think the answer to that question is a lot in biases. Okay, we are all dealing with huge amount of biases when it comes to women in the workplace. First and foremost, women themselves are dealing with a lot of biases where they're constantly facing this fear and guilt when it comes to juggling multiple priorities. And a lot of that is brought to them because of the way society and their families, the kind of expectations that they have from women. So if a woman is working full time, she's always questioned that, but what about your children? How are you managing that? And always made to feel like the bad mother or the bad daughter-in-law or the bad wife. Also, when it comes to companies, because there have been such less women in the workplace itself is built by men, for men, of men. So a lot of the workplace culture, policies, programs, initiatives, like the rules of the game have been built by men for men. And a lot of those changes also need to happen if we want to be able to get more women in and to get more women to rise. Like a simple example I can give you is, in our country, we have one of the most amazing maternity leave policies that any country has in the world, which is a 6 month where the government, society, families, companies feel that the onus of parenthood only lies on the woman. And that then in turn serves as a big deterrent for companies to hire women because they're always worried they will have to pay for that 6 month paid maternity leave.
So, I have a question for you on that, Neha. When you say there are very strong biases, inbuilt biases in our system. Now, I would agree. I would agree. Uh, with your study and with your engagement, how do you think one should be dealing with these biases? What should be the way forward? How should one, what should one be doing? Because in you made a reference that the the people ask questions about what about your children, what about your home. These are normally the questions which also come up from the other women in the household. Okay, do you think it's also that the education has to be, or some work has to be done on the women itself to understand a fellow woman that you need to appreciate and support each other a lot more than what you're doing now, or do you think no, the women understand each other very well, they support each other a lot, it's the other folk which help?
Absolutely not. Yeah, I don't. When I said biases, I absolutely don't mean that the biases rest only in the minds of men. The biases rest in each one of us. And frankly, each one of us is biased on the basis of our own upbringing, our own education, our own exposure, right? So, say for even for other women who have only had mothers who have never worked or aunts who have never worked, they start feeling the same thing is expected from them and expected from other women around them as well. So I think first and foremost, we need to create a lot of awareness when it comes to biases. Many biases are conscious, but a ton of biases are unconscious, where we don't even realize that we have that bias. It's like when your fellow colleague gets up and leaves to go home at around 5:36, and her colleague looks at the watch when she's going. That's an unconscious bias where you might not even realize that you're doing it, but that woman is feeling like, oh my God, this is terrible. I'm a bad worker. I'm leaving the office early, to go home and be with my kids. So first and foremost, it's important for us to be aware of the biases that we have. And the organizations that work with Jobsforher, they do a lot of work in dealing with these biases. They do sensitization workshops, not just of recruiters, but also of hiring managers, of bosses, of colleagues, to make the workplace more equitable. Secondly, we need to actually come up with specific programs and initiatives that will help in dealing with the biases. Okay, instead of trying to wish it away, we need to figure out what is it that is required to get people to overcome the biases and move to the other side. And we're seeing huge progress in that matter. For example, when I started Jobsforher 7 years ago, I can't tell you how many companies used to tell us that we do not want to hire women returnees and we do not want to hire mothers. And today, those same companies pay us to hire women returnees and mothers. right? So change can happen. Change is already happening, but a lot more change needs to happen to get to where we need to be.
Right. Fantastic. Very well said, Neha. So I see that your client profile, your engagement profile across companies is very large. I read it. It was over 7,500 plus companies you work and engage with. What kind of a companies are these? Just talk to us as to what kind of an industry, which is most receptive, which are the industries which are still showing some resistance, which you think there needs to be work on, and how are you dealing with it?
Sure. So like you said, Shesh, we have a very wide spectrum of companies that come onto JobServer. And we see a lot of difference when it comes to the type of industry and the size, the scale at which the company operates. So when it comes to the large companies, and especially the multinational companies, all of them are striving to achieve higher diversity in the workplace, because they've all realized that diversity is not good for social reasons only. Diversity is actually good for business reasons. Only when you have diverse mindsets and perspectives and thinking can you provide diverse solutions to diverse customers, right? So all these large companies and multinationals have specific diversity goals that they're trying to drive. And for that, they need to build the pipeline of women at every level of the organization so that they can get those diverse mindsets in. Second, we also see a lot of companies coming in who have realized that if they want, where there's a huge war for talent, for example, in tech especially, they've realized that if they want to win this war for talent, they can't lose access to 50% of the talent pool. Because if you look in India, we actually have the highest number of women graduates with engineering and STEM degrees.
Yes.
And how can we lose out on that talent? So all these companies are now, rolling out policies, rolling out programs, rolling out hiring drives specifically for women so that they can get this talent pool coming into the workplace. Third, this third set of companies that we see working very closely with us are companies that are looking for flexible manpower, or shall I say, woman power, where they realize that a great way of saving costs is by having flexi workers, right? And these workers can be part-time or freelance or work from home talent. And so because so many women are looking for flexi jobs, we also get a lot of companies coming in who are looking for recruiting them. So if you were to break it up in different buckets, it would be your large MNCs driving diversity goals, your startups and SMEs where they need this talent pool, and the companies that are looking for flexible talent.
Interesting. Neha, I read this that one of the focus targeted, what I should say, employment opportunities you create is for the women who are coming back to work after taking a break. Okay. Now tell us, how does that work, and how do you go about building your, creating awareness? Because there are a lot of women who themselves are very reluctant to go back to work when they take a break. They have their own, hesitations because they think, will I fit into this, dog eat dog's world? So they constantly are putting themselves in. How do you go about this? Is there a program which you people run to educate the women to tell them, listen, there is a world out there which is willing to receive you and receive you well? How do you approach it?
So Shesh, getting women back to work is at the core of what Jobsforher does. In fact, for the first 4 years of our existence, our tagline used to be ready, set, restart, because we only focused on how do we get women who've taken a break in their careers to restart their careers. Yeah. And even today, our tagline is start, restart, rise, and restarters being at the middle, at the center of it all. Now, the reason for this is because of the huge talent pool that we have in India that is outside the workplace and needs to be brought back in. And in order to do that, we've realized we have to have a three-pronged approach. First and foremost, we need to make sure that there are enough opportunities for these women. Yeah, and that is why we work so much with so many different companies and work a lot in driving change in their mindsets, to make them realize that, hey, when you hire a woman returnee, you're getting a talent that is qualified, capable, They have a fire in their bellies to prove themselves, and they can join you at no notice period. Yeah. So first and foremost, it is about creating opportunities. Over there, we also work with companies to have structured returnee programs. These could be internships by which companies offer an internship to a woman returnee, like similarly to how you would offer an internship to a fresher. And over the 3 to 6 month period, that woman gets retrained on the job. The second big area that is of important focus is the learning component. And here we lean heavily on our partners who provide resume writing, career counseling, interview training, and upskilling in different technologies and different skill sets, so that women can feel that confidence of jumping back into the workplace. Also, we work very closely with our mentors who are usually industry experts, and they come and they host master classes, they host mentorship sessions, etc. So they can guide women on what is it that they need to restart their careers. The third pillar to this three-pronged approach is actually community. It's very important for women to surround themselves with positivity. So on our platform, we also have groups, and through those groups, women can actually professionally network with one another and meet other like-minded women who are also in similar situations, or they've had similar career journeys, and they just get it. They are not there to make that woman feel bad about her life choices, or make her feel that she can never restart again, but to make her realize that it is possible. I am also in the same boat, or I was in the same boat, and I made it happen, and so can you.
Right. Very interesting. So, Neha, in your experience, the kind of women you come across, which level of employment they largely fit in? Are they at the entry level, or they are at the middle level, or they are the general manager types, or the CXO types? Are there any CXO types? Will obviously they have their network and they know what to do and how to go about it. But what is the segment of people they normally you come across, and what kind of a hand-holding do your people do and guiding you do? And do you have any story to tell?
Sure. So we actually do very little work at the entry level, because at the entry level, we don't see such a big challenge. Yeah. Okay. I mean, companies usually, if you look at the company, it's called the leaky talent pipeline, where companies will still have about 30% women at the entry level. That drops to 10% at the managerial level, and then it's at single digits in the leadership level. So our work really starts at the junior managerial, mid-managerial level, where we want to make sure that women, and that's usually when you're like Indira Nui says, that the irony is that our career clock and our biological clock ends up coinciding. So it's usually at the managerial level also that women will go through the life stages of marriage, motherhood, etc. And you see a big drop-off happening during that time. So we do a lot of work at the managerial level. One, to work with companies to get them to be able to retain more of their women, and the women who've already left to get them back to where they left off, which is at the managerial level. So building that pipeline over there. The other work that we do a lot is also at the leadership level, because we've realized that till we don't have enough women leading companies, you won't be able to see the kind of sea change that is required, right? And with such small percentages of women at leadership levels, we are losing out, on all those women who are capable and qualified of getting there. And over there, like you rightly said, there's a lot of networking that is important. And women are just, traditionally very anti-professional networking. And we're trying to break that myth. So usually you will see networking, is the typical old boys club, which happens on the golf course or at the bar. And we're trying to see how can we change that networking game and make it about women. So we have launched a women networking club called the Herky Club. And it's only for women who are aspiring to be leaders, who have, say, 10 plus years of experience in no matter which industry and which field. But for them to be able to get together, learn, share, grow, and network together has been really incredible. So we've seen huge success stories happen, not just at the managerial level of getting women to restart their careers, but we're also seeing huge success stories now at leadership levels, where women are being able to break that glass ceiling that they started facing once they reach a particular stage at a company.
Oh, interesting. So, will you please repeat that? Tell us a little more about the club which you talked about, which you created for the networking for the women. Can you just little deep dive and tell a little more, because that's very interesting and very fascinating what you're talking.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's called the Herky Club. Yeah, and
Herky Club.
Herky, exactly. Basically, it's her key to the position of power that she was meant
Right.
to be. And
Right.
the idea is it's like a sisterhood, so there's always been this notion that women are women's worst enemies and things like that. We're here to break that myth too. We do not believe in that, and we don't see that. Yeah,
Right.
because we feel that women are biggest supporters of women, because especially if you surround yourself with other women who get it. They
Right.
know the kind of challenges that exist. They know the kind of guilt and fear that you need to overcome to get to where you are. So what
Wow.
we do is that through the club, and it's a paid membership club that you have to apply for, you get interviewed with. Only if you match the criteria of the club do you get in. But once you're in, then our aim is to help you grow and succeed in your career. And we do
Right.
that through a variety of ways. So we actually constantly have different themes that we run in the club, which are usually career builder themes for women. So, for example, our themes will be about owning ambition, or managing work-life balance, or leaving a legacy. And each of these themes are tackled by different experts that come in and host master classes and interviews, so that together women can grasp those concepts. Also, of course, we have a lot of networking that happens in the club, a lot of opportunities for women to be able to get to each other and build those networks that they can then use to accelerate their careers.
Wow.
By the
Fabulous.
way, the other thing that we do, Shesh, in the club is we also make sure that we are showcasing and branding women. And that is
Right.
another thing that women are historically very bad at, which is, showcasing their abilities to the outside world.
Yeah.
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 And we force
The
them
the
to showcase
showcasing
themselves.
and branding, of course, women don't, they tend to shy away from that. But I think that is a huge challenge in the country per se. Not very many people, they don't understand that what a powerful brand each individual is, and they somehow don't try to, what I should say, bring them to the front, or showcase their strengths, or talk about it, or go about sharing those experiences of theirs. People are normally very shy.
Yeah.
कि यार
And
मैं
if
क्या
people are
बोलूंगा
shy,
लोग क्या.
women are even shyer.
Yeah,
So that's why
yeah,
it's
yeah,
amazing that you have a platform called the brand called you, because every person needs to realize that they have that brand within, and they just need to bring it out to the front.
yeah. No, I think that was the reason how Ashutosh Garg started this brand called You, and it's fascinating as to what stories have come on this platform and how many people have spoken. But just to ask you one other question, coming back to Jobs for Her. Now, 7 years now, Neha, what is the future? Where do you see Jobs for Her? How does the horizon look for you in the next coming few years?
Well, I mean, it might be 7 years, but I feel like our journey has just begun. Yeah.
Right.
I am just extremely enthused by the change that we've already seen in these 7 years. I have actually, at the current stage where we are standing, I have never before seen such a huge demand for women hiring than we are seeing today. Every company you speak to is trying to get more and more women inside the company. And that has really motivated us and filled us with a lot of hope for the future. In fact, now earlier our big challenge used to be creating those opportunities for the women in our platform. Now our big challenge has become making sure we have enough talent for the opportunities that we have created for these women.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
And so a
So,
lot of our work is going to be demand that we managed to create for women. Yeah. And that means that we need to first of all find all those women out there, motivate them, inspire them to restart their careers or rise in their careers, and also help them in getting the right skilling and learning that they need to be able to perform in those jobs. And a lot of that, I think, is also built by creating a very strong community of women. Because if we can just get women in touch with other women, there's so many problems that they'll be able to just solve together.
Absolutely.
So looking at that very strong career community, which is fueled by opportunities and learning, that's really where we want to go with Jobsforher. And if we just continue on the trajectory that we are seeing in the market, I don't think the day is far away when we can see a more, equitable workplace in India.
Oh, interesting. So, Neha, you touched upon one very interesting point that, earlier your challenge was to finding opportunities to get there. And now, as that has got sorted out, now it's about having the talent pool. Now, how is that talent pool? Are there issues? Are there challenges? Are there enough and more? While we are our population is very large. What is the quality of employable women out there? Because India's biggest challenge has been we have high number of graduates and engineers, but how many of them are employable? How many of them you can actually say, here it is?
There's a big challenge there. There's a big challenge there, Shesh, and the challenge is further exacerbated if a woman has not been working for some time. Because especially in technology, and now the biggest recruiter in the country is technology. Every industry is hiring tech talent. And if that woman has taken a break, even for a year, okay, she needs to update her skills because technology has been leaping forward, by leaps and bounds in every year. And the problem is that women traditionally do not invest in themselves. Okay. And again, that's a bias. They will invest in their children's education. They will actually they will, spend money for their personal and social needs, but they will not invest in the learning required for their careers. And I think that's a big change that needs to happen because you will find that, like in technology also, when it comes to the niche technologies, you will find even less women over there. And that is very troubling because especially in artificial intelligence, in data science, in machine learning, these areas are going to be controlling all our futures. Right. And if we don't have enough female voices in these areas, we're going to be building AI that is already biased.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is extremely critical that we get more women upskilled and more women participants in the future.
Very well said. Very well said. Thank you. So, Neha, I have a question which I've asked many of my guests is that what has been through this journey of Jobsforher, for this journey of entrepreneurship for you, what has been your biggest frustration? And what has been your learnings from it? And, and some of this frustration need not necessarily professional, it could be personal, but I leave it to you to share with us what has been that and how did you deal with it? What was your learning from it? And how did it all pan out?
So, there have been a lot of challenges on all fronts. But like for me, I think the biggest frustration is what we're talking about right now, which is getting women to invest in themselves. Yeah. We have to stop waiting for the knight in the shining armor to come and save us. We have to be our own princess charming and rescue ourselves. And we have all the tools and resources that we need to be able to do that. We have to take that ownership, and responsibility for our own career and move forward. So, for example, we launched learning and upskilling on our platform many, many years ago. I think it was in 2016 or 2017. But to get women to really find, and we also have a lot of free mentorship and masterclass, etc. happening. When it comes to the free stuff, we definitely see huge traction from women. Yeah, but when it comes to actually paying for their upskilling and their reskilling, they hesitate. And that's a big problem because unless and until you don't make an investment, you're not going to reap the rewards. And that's why, in fact, the Jobsforher team has been actually deliberating a lot internally to figure out how do we change that mindset. And in all the research that we've done, we've also realized that, look, when it comes to the offerings themselves, so far they aren't really tailored to the needs of women. All the partners that are on our platform also, they have generic services, right? They have generic career counseling, resume writing, interview training. What are the unique challenges that women have when it comes to their reskilling and upskilling needs, and come up with those customized learning programs for them. And then, of course, get them to invest in it so that they can reap the rewards of their careers.
Fantastic, interesting, very interesting. No, I think I hear you and I understand what you're trying to say. That and that is not just the problem of the women. I think investment in learning is a issue because we do a very good job of going through our early stages of school and college education, but education is an ongoing thing. You have to stay relevant, and to stay relevant, you have to keep working on your mental spa, not the physical side of it. You have to keep going to through various courses, to keep yourself relevant, and a lot of people hesitate to do that, so they never learn new things and they don't unlearn what they have learned. So it is, the relevance is where it becomes a big question mark. So I think interesting. So Neha, we are actually running out of time. I tell you, there is so many more questions I have for you which I want to ask you, and I think we will at some other day connect back and talk about it. Just before you leave, I want to ask you one last question. What would be one message, if you want to give it, to the young women? How should they be looking at what should be their outlook for future? How should they be mapping it? And or the women who are wanting to get back into the space, what would be one message if you would like to give it?
I think, Sheesh, given the fact that we are in 2022 and we are looking at 2 years of the pandemic gone by, I feel it's very important for women especially to realize that in every crisis lies an opportunity. And the COVID crisis has actually presented a huge opportunity for women. So never before have companies been so open to providing flexibility to their employees. Because now it's not just women who are asking for flexibility. Every employee is asking for flexibility. The men are, but especially the millennials are, because that's what they're used to now. So this is the right time for women to really grab the opportunities that are coming by their way, and not get left behind anymore. So there's a great quote by Sheryl Sandberg that I'd love to share, which is that when you're invited to take a seat, when you're invited on a rocket ship, don't ask which seat, just get on. So let's do that now. Let's jump onto this rocket ship that can be women's careers in India.
Wow, so very well said, so very well put, Neha. Thank you very much for your time. So all you women, just know opportunities are galore out there. We just have to stay connected, stay relevant, and go out and give your best. Neha, thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you, and look forward to talking to you soon, sometime in the future. Thank you once again, and have a wonderful future. Thank you once again, and have a wonderful day and a great week ahead.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.